Welcome to Aquarian Anarchy, everybody. We are live. We are here. We have Rhonda Mary on the show with us tonight. We are very excited about that. And let me put our little banner up here so I can remind everybody to like, to share, and to subscribe. And you will be reminded all throughout the show about that. We have a great guest here tonight, kicking off 2021 with a bang this year. Holy cow. Today was one hell of a day. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of other stuff. Rhonda is very active and very astute politically, and I want to get into a whole bunch of stuff with her about what went down today and some of the stuff that she has coming up this year. But before we get to that, I want to take one moment right now real quick to remind you to like, to share, to subscribe. The links are down below for like the Patreon. You can go in there and you can also buy merchandise from the store. We've got the Make Anarchy Great Again hoodie that I was sporting today when I was taking my pictures and everything. Go get you one of those. Down below in Rhonda's links, you can go get this shirt that I got from her store. I love this shirt. She's wearing it too. I love it. Today's a great day to be an anti-statist. So Marcus and Nico are here, and we got Rhonda Mary here as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Rhonda. How you been today?
I've been good. It's been a very interesting day. They didn't think it was going to take the turn it did, but interesting to say the least. And we're only 6 days into January, so 2021.
Yeah. It is an insane start to 2021. So I didn't expect, like to be perfectly honest, I thought that we were going to have a bunch of lip service and then like no teeth behind it or anything like that. And we woke up to the revolution. Apparently, like it got crazy. What are your you got any crazy stories to tell about people hitting you up? Like, are you watching what's going on? Like, what was that like?
I'm just basically watching what's going on Twitter, and I think just like you, because it was just last night I was doing my Tuesday live that I do every Tuesday, Hey Out Tuesdays, right. And I was telling people just be prepared. 2021 is going to be really interesting. I'm assuming and could feel something is coming. I didn't know it was going to be this soon or to this extent. But I think we all feel an energy or, a bubbling up that's coming to the surface, and people are getting really tired. I'm just more so annoyed by, all of it, like the trying to point fingers. Oh, it's this side is so different. And but really it's a lot of dissenting voices right now with the government on every respective side. So, but yes, it's heating up.
Yeah, how did you like the flip-flopping of like you had with like the BLM and Antifa stuff? It was back to blue, and then now it flipped around, and today it was like you almost had the back to blue folks from 6 months ago or whatever were like, fuck the police. And then the other side was like, no, you need to respect the institutions and all this stuff. And it's like, whoa. Like, I'd be cool if you both just figured out, like one of my friends had a really good point. He said, when are they going to realize that fuck the police and don't tread on me mean the same thing? It's like this, like, just stay off my back. And, but people want to have their illusions, I guess.
It's funny. They're playing like both sides. So it's like you go one parent, you go to talk to one parent, and they'll say, no, you can't do that. But then then the mom says yes, and then you go to the dad and say, hey dad, can I do this? And he says no, but your mom says yes. So therefore it's like you're in a conflict of like trying to balance it out, and it's like everybody hates each other right now. If you were like a part of the Black Lives Matter side, you're like, now you guys look stupid, and then you flip it vice versa, and now everybody's looking like, well, this was happening with black people, so why are you guys now acting like this? And then it's like, it's really dumb. Like, I was scrolling on Facebook and somebody posted Can we start rioting or looting again? I was like, oh boy.
Right.
Oh boy.
But I agree. You do look dumb if your principles, your values sway depending on what day it is. I've talked about this way back this was like this summer. I was like, my position has been, I am going to support protesting. I am going to support the people. And I tend to be way more favorable than somebody storming on a politician or the Capitol, as opposed to a small business owner or somebody just trying to have dinner with their family. I've had this same position. And so people wouldn't say, oh, look at you now. You look dumb. Look at you getting pepper sprayed by the police. Look, the girl got shot today and all these other things. But if people would actually lead with like their morals, consistency, and things like that, instead of, oh, it's the other guy, then you wouldn't have those kind of moments.
Yeah, one of the things that's going on is that this is just another stage of the divide and conquer. Don't take me wrong. I think that what's happening today will open a bunch of eyes, and I'm seeing it all over Twitter. I'm seeing it all over the place. People going. There was some person I was commenting on that I saw Hotep Jesus comment on that says, "I think I'm becoming an anarchist today," and I was like, "Great, welcome." The refreshments are in the back. Pick you up some weed and canned vegetables on the way out. So I'm with people opening their eyes, but we need to also, to your point, Rhonda, one of the things we need to be clear about is our morals and our ethics. And freedom doesn't mean tearing shit apart. Freedom means respecting each other and staying consistent, peaceful, loving, and compassionate. That doesn't mean that if somebody pulls a gun on me and wants to get kind of jiggy, I'm going to pull a gun back. That doesn't mean that doesn't happen, but you're right. It's about consistency. And that's actually one of the things that I enjoyed when Chad suggested I check you out on your podcast. I enjoy your consistency. It's one of the things that I think you bring to the conversation.
Thank you. So let me ask you about this peaceful and compassionate thing. I was taught that the 2A, the Second Amendment, was about, keep basically keeping your politicians in check too far when they're overreaching. So, like, how honest are we being about the peaceful and the compassionate, and where do we draw that line? And when I say where, I mean consistency, like across the board. What is too much? Because right, I'm sitting here looking at, you have business owners who can't open their businesses while you have lines out the door at Walmart. We couldn't, we weren't supposed to have dinner with our families on Thanksgiving, but Black Friday was totally okay. You have people's livelihoods that are being threatened. You have a government that takes a recess, passes 5,000-page bills, tweet about hating this bill and then vote for it, not even wanting to show up for votes on the first stimulus. We have all these things that's happening. At what point does it have to be some type of recourse for politicians? And also, because some people are going to try to pretend like, oh, you could just vote it away. But when we're continuously seeing these high levels of corruption, voter fraud, and this is not new. I don't even care what side people want to pretend like they're on, right? We saw Bernie Sanders get cheated in 2016. We saw how, the pushback that was Kamala Harris was getting early on in her campaign, and to see her swiftly moved into that position. Do we really think Joe Biden is who the people chose? Really? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, not only that, but he dwarfed Obama's turnout.
Like come on, man.
Obama was a superstar.
I gotta add though, that though you're right, seeing things stolen away, All that crap started in 2012 largely, and I realize there's other, when they ripped the shit out of Ron Paul and tore that away from him because that dude was going to win. I don't care what people say, that dude was going to win. And they made sure that didn't happen. They learned all that shit they did with Bernie and with everybody else. They learned that when they ripped his ass off. And at the end of the day, the difference between Ron Paul and Bernie Sanders or any of these other tools is Ron Paul stuck to those goddamn guns and did not phase him a bit. He didn't endorse Mitt Romney. He didn't do all that shit.
So, and Bernie Sanders turns around and says, hey, we got to come to terms with this. Let's just be peaceful, So, yeah, I get it. But I'm just sure it's pretty frustrating for a lot of people. So to even deny the possibility of this, I just feel like people haven't been paying attention. It's been written on the wall.
No, I think they pay too much attention to the wrong things. It's not not paying attention, because my dad is sitting downstairs, eyes glued to this TV screen, and he's like talking about how they stormed the Capitol, and I'm just like, Dad, like, let's be honest here. Like, let's be truthful. If they really did storm the Capitol, do you think it'd be that easy?
Man,
one person getting shot is just a miracle, I should say, nonetheless. And how she is portrayed with the Trump flag all around her neck, and I'm like, oh boy, this don't look good. Like, this is just riling up one side, and then everybody's just like laughing and chuckling, and it's like, bro, this is gonna come back at you. Like, at the end of the day, the United States is all bordered up. So whatever gets flung across the state is gonna ricochet back wherever you are sooner or later. Like, it all is a ploy, and it's just like, y'all are focusing in, and y'all say that you see the bigger picture, and we all see the bigger picture. At the end of the day, we all want to be akin and have like the same like manner of freedom, in a sense. Everybody is fighting for freedom. Everybody wants to be free. Everybody wants people to be comfortable in their skin, but it's like we have guns at each other's heads over the wrong details, over the absolute wrong details. And then when you tell somebody about themselves, and they've been so ingrained and so programmed to basically think about themselves, what you think's gonna happen? They gonna complain and fire back right back at you. So,
Rhonda, I want to absolutely, Nico, you're absolutely right. And what clued me in when you were talking was back to something Rhonda talked about a moment ago, where she was talking about with guns and violence and all of those kinds of things, and how does peace play a part? And the answer, it really is quite simple. And Murray Rothbard really covered this in Ethics of Liberty pretty distinctly. And that is, it's got to be in the moment. Defense is about in the moment, and it's about defending your rights, your natural rights. And those people today, as much as I think it's hilarious what they did, I think that all that's fun, and it's all part of that show, like you were talking about, Nico. At the end of the day, we need, they weren't defending shit. They were aggressively attacking the state. And now you can make an argument that could be a positive thing. I get that. But what aggressively attacking the state typically does is create another state.
I could see that.
I mean, I'm with you to an extent on the thing about that, but I kind of go back to, I mean, I'm thinking 1773 here. Like, this is some Boston Tea Party type energy that I was kind of excited to see animate people again, because there's been too much people just bullshitting and saying that they are fed up with stuff, and then just rolling over and letting Republicans and Democrats do them dirty.
So,
go
ahead, Rhonda. You were going to say something, Rhonda?
Like, I kind of feel similarly, and it's almost like, I get it, and I also, believe in like non-aggression principles as well. However, politicians are putting people in a very ugly place. Would you say that not allowing people to feed their families is violent? Is that not violence?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it goes beyond just not providing them the means to feed them. So, like, they're like denying you access to the ability to do what you do to make a living.
Right.
It's and laughing in your face while they have parties and fly on private jets and do all the shit that they normally do anyway.
So, I mean, in a lot of ways, it appears they've already been violent, you know,
Exactly.
and I'm not advocating for people to hurt politicians or hurt anybody at the Capitol. However, you know, storming into a place and letting people know, like, we're here, like, you know, you're safe, but like, we're here. And you need to take notice, and we're not happy. And I don't see anything. I just don't. I can't for the life of me. I just don't feel any kind of way. I just don't. It's the freaking government. It's the state. I don't feel bad. You know what I mean? Now, will I start, you know, if people just start shooting rounds into people, that's, I think, a different conversation. But majority of what we saw today, you know, people basically stampeding in, trampling in, whatever. I mean, I'm sorry, I just don't feel bad about it.
Oh no, and nor do I think anyone should. And again, I think that this is definitely, and to Chad's point about 1773, if you will, you know, for sure there comes a time. I mean, the name of the show is The Evolution of the Revolution. I mean, obviously,
I thought we made a quantum leap today.
Right. You know, the obviously there's a time and a place for revolution, and you're right, Rhonda. We're definitely getting in that direction. But this today, though, I again think that it was a positive step in many ways. I think there are a lot of people that opened their eyes to what really freedom is today, just today, and I think that's a positive thing. They were defending a king. It was an orange king.
Now, I agree with you there.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
I do agree with you there, and I do think that kind of, you know, adds something different to the conversation. But we can't. Also, along with that, we can't deny the possibility of a voter fraud that transpired. And then you add that on all of the censorship. I mean, the media is aiding in this and then hiding their hands. So in a lot of ways, they're intensifying this. And a lot of times it just looks like our government, along with the media, they're hiding things. I think if there wasn't so much censorship and so much conspiracy theories, and we had a very you know, impartial media, like I just don't think you would be having this same reaction. But there's been this whole buildup of, like, even today, removing these tweets that, let's be clear, I don't like. Why are you going after Pence? Especially in this matter, I don't agree with. I don't think it's a good move. I don't think it's a good look. However, to remove this, like, technically this is a president, so those are kind of like historical documents, and you are removing them. You're making them disappear.
Right. Yeah. Like, imagine if we looked at the anti-federalist papers and the federalist papers, and there was just like whole sections that they just ripped out and burned
because they didn't like it.
No, these went against community guidelines. Like, what the
right?
Yeah, and it pisses me off that they make me defend Trump, and
I know, right?
People like that.
And when we had Unc on, I made the mistake of like, have they ever done anything like this to a president before? And he's like, well, they put a bullet in one. I was like, oh, goddamn, man, my bad. Yes, that's right. Kennedy.
Shout out to Unc, by the way.
yeah, exactly. But no, it's I think with all of this stuff, what we've seen though is that the evolution of the counter revolution, which is that back in the day, smoking a president on live TV was the message that they needed to send. And then now it's to the point where they're like, nah, like we're not martyring this dude. We're not doing all that. We're just gonna neuter him and emasculate him and remove his teeth in front of everybody, and then he'll just go away eventually because we won't make it to where people can see him anymore.
Right, absolutely. And I don't understand how crazy, like, I don't know if people know how crazy that is, in essence, literally having the power to make a person, not even just a person, but we're literally talking about a president basically just disappear in thin air because they want to. It shows a problem with our media, with the algorithms, and some of these messages and some of these lessons are universal, right?
Right.
Because you're gonna have people supporting and standing up for Trump being censored, yet these people have no freaking clue. I just saw a study the other day that said it is in fact black men who are some of the most censored people on social media.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Shocked me.
Okay.
So that's a study that I came across a couple of days ago. I think I may have retweeted it, right? But based on just the way they talk and language they use and the things they talk about, and it possibly coming off more like aggressive and things like this, right? And so on some levels, these things are interconnected, and I just cannot support something for somebody else that I don't support for me. And I also say this also with the protesting, the same grace that a lot of these people are trying to have today that they could not happen to find for Black Lives Matter. Like, it's funny because now you have a lot of these conservatives saying, oh, well, this was a majority peaceful protest. I'm like, that sounds a little familiar. Majority peaceful. Okay, Mostly peaceful.
Right.
I'm like, that sounds a little bit familiar, right? But some of these messages impact us all, right? And if you're going to pick and choose which day you want to support these things, is a part of why we're in a predicament that we're in now.
For sure. Absolutely. And the thing is, again, come on. I agree with by saying we are the kind of people that people are now looking to for news. We don't even, and I'm not trying to say that we're awful. We're not. But we're amateurs. And I'm talking about all of us, and, where is the media? And it makes me think. There's a couple things that what's going on right now reminds me of. The first one is going back to the first American Revolution. The British controlled the presses, and they stopped it down, and underneath all of that, like Ethan Allen wound up like doing his own basic paper, and several other of the founding fathers had their own little papers that were behind the scenes. And so we're doing that now. Even if they shut our mouths for something, even if they shut us up for a second, we'll find other ways. And the message of freedom will carry, whether or not we realize it or not. Yeah, she said it's emergency. She'll be right back.
Okay.
But either way, we are going to see the truth come out either way. So that's the first thing it reminds me of. The second thing that what's going on right now reminds me of is actually, and that's a positive thing, is a little more negative. And in many ways, it reminds me of the Bolshevik Revolution. A lot of people in Russia don't realize that there was actually a revolution from the right first, and that ended because they were poorly organized, kind of like what we're seeing today. They were poorly organized, so they wound up getting a revolution after the revolution from the right that was more organized from the left, and you wound up with the Soviet Union. So we've got to be vigilant.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too about so what I was thinking about with this whole thing with the press and like the removing tweets and all that stuff. So if you think about it, like back in the day, what it used to be was the press would just write shit about you, and they could write whatever they wanted. And so in a way, it's almost like Trump had kind of like reverse engineered things, because he did something that a lot of presidents had never even had the opportunity to do before, which was just go directly to the people without having to go through a press conference or, you know, a State of the Union address or these other things.
Sure.
He would just go directly to the people through Twitter. And Twitter was, so in a way, it's almost like maybe Twitter gave him for other people's taste too much freedom to be able to reach people like that, whereas the press had not done that before. They've been very restrictive in how they spun stuff for presidents, and now they just pulled the rug back out from under him. And it's just interesting to see how, in the midst of all this stuff, like there's been all these other different points along the timeline where something like that could have happened, and that they chose now when there's a whole lot of really, really interesting stuff going on. And I don't know if like he has to remove the tweets, otherwise his account doesn't become unsuspended. But even after he removes the tweets, he's got 12 hours after that too. So we don't know. Like I don't know. Have y'all heard? Did he actually take them down, and is he gonna get it back in 12 hours?
What would y'all do?
I wouldn't. I mean, if I was him, I wouldn't, and I would just be. I would tell everybody, go to Gab.
Yeah, if I were Donald Trump
or somewhere, wherever.
Go ahead, Nico.
I'd leave them up so people could really realize. I mean, even though the large majority of people don't like him, would have to show you how stupid people really are, and the media, in a sense. So, like, the media takes it down because they don't agree with what he's saying, but people with common sense are going to come along and say, even though you don't agree with him, you don't see them lighting Hitler quotes on fire out of every single textbook because you don't have that right. The right is that even though we don't like him and things that he's done, that doesn't change the fact that he still has spoken on things to whatever fact or whatever truth that he's put out there, but y'all don't see them burning it down. Now, they've taken out the memorabilia and all the things saluting him. Yes, go ahead and do that. But when it comes to things such as it being Twitter, and things not just being Twitter, but like Facebook or any other social media controlled by a big conglomerate, they have the right away, because you sign the terms and conditions, to do whatever they want with your property, which is your First Amendment, your voice, your whatever you give to the people. And if we're all just sitting here and just watching it, like it's like it's nothing. And so it just I would leave it up there if I was him. I would want people to see like how really dumb everybody else is, and on top of that, like how unfair the American people are treating each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to,
and like what Rhonda said, it's a historical, at this point, it's a historical record that you're removing. Like you need to know, like it's a video where he was talking to people. Like that video needs to exist. I'm sorry, like you might not like it, but like you got to know like what the dude said when he said it. Like I don't know, it's very bizarre, like how you can like remove an event as though it didn't exist, it didn't happen.
But it just proves everything that I've been trying to tell people. It's the corporations that run the United States. Like, let's just be clear, let's be honest. Yep. You can look at the stimulus packages and tell that much. You can look at who's deemed essential and non-essential and tell that much. You know what I mean? So if this is hurting even the social media, if this is hurting their bottom line, or is not the direction that the corporations want it to go, I mean, you're gonna be silenced. That's just what it is, and it's unfortunate. And you have people across the aisle that have supported this madness. They didn't even want to put their name. They didn't even want to show up for a vote and say they voted for these trash stimulus bills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just sad, but the censorship is ridiculous, and unfortunately, it's gonna get worse. Those are the I would have really liked to see Trump really focus and go hard for like 1A and 2A during his term, as opposed to maybe some of the other areas that he put focus on. That it's just like what.
Well, it kind of comes back to what I was about to say a few minutes ago, and that is, if I were Trump, I'd start my own goddamn company. And the fact that he's not doing it, this dude has a lot of money. The fact that he's not doing it should tell you something. This is a show. These are actors, and they play very well for their overlords in the corporations, for sure. But it is a show, and the government has no other purpose but to control, to govern.
Sounds so simple, right?
Okay.
Like,
what's that? What'd you say?
said it sounds so simple. They literally have no other purpose. The government governs, and that's just lost on some people. They think they're here to be our friends and to bail us out and to be nice to us and send us $2,000 checks after they lied and told us 2 weeks to slow the spread, and here we are going into a year. You know what I mean? And I just don't know.
2 shares to speed the spread of this show. Just reminding everybody, share this.
And Rhonda's show.
And share Rhonda's show too. Yeah, share Rhonda's channel. It's down in the description. So Daryl had a question. He says, "How do you feel about the Libertarian Party's effort at attracting urban people, quote unquote?" He said, "Urban people."
Did the Libertarian Party have effort to attract urban people? Did I miss something? Did I miss something? Look, okay. Let's be real here. With everything that is going on, for the Libertarian Party to miss the mark, you had so many people looking for a political home, feeling like the freaking Dems are crazy, the freaking Republicans are too statist. Like, I'm not aligning. It's just not lining up. There's a lot of corruption on both sides. Majority of them, literally, like a huge majority of them, all pro-war, all big pharma. You know what I mean? And so it was just a big missed opportunity, man. I've talked to my friends about this, and I'm just like, that is crazy to me. Such a huge missed opportunity.
It was we had a guy in high school when we were playing football. We were tied, nothing going into overtime. They scored a touchdown because he did like the little 10-yard line thing where you play from the 10 and you try to score. So they scored and they kicked the extra point. We scored in like 2 plays, and we decided we were going for 2. And the play is like wide open off the left tackle, and the guy goes and he goes to cut inside because the safety was coming in off the edge, and he slipped and fell down like 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage with this huge hole where like all he has to do is like not slip and fall, and he walks into the end zone. That's what the Libertarian Party did for this whole election cycle. Is that it's right there? You could drive a Mack truck through this hole, and they fell flat on their faces.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about it is, why not use the same tactics that the DNC uses? Social media is popping. Why not work with influencers?
For sure. Just
the easiest.
No, they shit on all their influencers instead. Yeah. They shit on all the influencers because they're playing Game of Thrones LARPing, like they're with a throne that has 0 power whatsoever.
Or even appealing to new influencers.
No, yeah. So I was going to ask
you, what you're
saying. You're younger than Marcus and I are. So like how and Nico's young too, but like how is like how ripe is the picking for that generation of younger folks? Like, are they disillusioned by both the Democrats and Republicans, or are they buying all this bullshit too?
Man, what? I think majority of people that I talked about kind of like within my age group felt like Biden was the lesser of two evils. I'm like, I don't know what y'all are measuring by legislation or tweets,
And
but I just think that a lot of people were put in a very tough spot. And, just me speaking specifically as it relates to me and the people I've been around, particularly in the Black community, a lot of people just are not going to move forward when things aren't being when they don't feel validated as people, as human, as valid, as cared for. Now we can, we can argue about, whether that should matter in the scheme of things, but obviously it does. And I've been saying for a very long time that you can use the same exact principles and morals, and if you of whatever you want to call it, conservatism, freedom, liberty, whatever, if you know how to talk to people and package these things and actually make it appealing, there is a very huge media push for values that a lot of people, especially initially, don't always agree with, but if you constantly push those things in the media, and this is the easiest to listen to, I paint myself as your friend, people are just, it's just natural.
Yeah. And we miss the opportunities that are delivered to us too. Just talking about the Black community, I was involved, and so was Chad, with organizing the Black outreach that Adam Kokesh did in 2018, where he had Maj on, he had Cynthia McKinney on, and he had
LaTanya Whittington.
On to talk about Black issues and these exact kinds of subjects. And it was well attended. I think it was the best attended thing. And then they went about telling everybody how Maj sucked, how Cynthia sucked, and then ignored LaTanya. Meanwhile, who's out making videos about the life and work of Nick Sarwark? No, they did that about Cynthia McKinney, who is having media talking to him all the time, like Maj did. Not Nick Sarwark, I'll tell you that. So these pieces of shit that are in control of, because I don't give a fuck. The only people that when it comes to the Libertarian Party, the only people I'm going to support at this point are Adam Kokesh, or Dan Behrman, or Herman Supreme. That's the only people I will ever, unless somebody really cool comes along that I'm not aware of, those are the only people I'm going to support, because fuck that party, because they told me flat out, I'm not welcome. So if my white ass isn't welcome, how the hell are they going to expect to attract Black voters or young voters or anybody else like that? I was a willing volunteer, and they told me to get the fuck lost.
Wait, what? Why? Like, I haven't
not the big LP, but like his state LP. Like, I think.
Nick Sarwark was a dick to me too.
Sarwark is. He's a. Anyway, we don't even. I don't even want to put that name in my mouth because I'm like vomit or something. But no, it's. Yeah, there's definitely some work that needs to be done. But I guess what I'm thinking of is either are we in a place where there's an opening for a third party, whether it's the LP or somebody else, or like the creation of something else, or splintering of the GOP or something.
The people want it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I just don't understand the problem and what people are waiting on. I don't understand why it's so hard for the Libertarian Party to get something sparked and going.
Because it's fucking controlled opposition. That's why. It is controlled from the inside to be a piece of shit place where people die.
What, Nico?
Sorry, Nico. Did he freeze?
No, Nico froze.
My shit is lagging. No, go ahead, because like every third sentence it's a. So like,
I'm sorry, Nico.
Now you sound fine. So go ahead, man.
Internet, so.
All right.
Okay, so basically, yes.
Yeah.
So go ahead and make your comment.
I think you froze.
No, I was just complaining. My internet is shit, and my siblings. Oh, I froze again. Oh my god.
He's delayed because he doesn't. He's picking up after when we're.
Okay.
Damn, man.
So, Rhonda, you were going to say?
Oh, I mean, the people want it. Like, clearly, people are fed up. I just don't. It's like government is there to govern. I just, at this point, maybe it's a little bit pessimistic of me. I don't know. Maybe I'm going further anarchist. I don't know what's happening.
We have cookies.
But I just don't know if it's possible to remove corruption from government. I just don't know if I had a faith, even if you live in freaking Wakanda and you see what happened there. So it's like, build your wall, keep the crazies out. No, I'm just kidding.
The thing is, let's start a Bitcoin party because it'll have a hell of a lot better chance of winning than a political party. because at the end of the day, voting will never free us. Can it be that voting will be one of the mechanisms that wake people up enough to realize they don't need psychopaths to control their lives? Maybe voting will be a part of that, but it will be because people woke up, not because they voted.
All right, so let me make the argument for what happened today. What liberty is when the government fears the people. I think there's a little bit of a taste of the ants and the grasshoppers, kind of reversing, power dynamics there today, and I was there for it. It was fun to watch. What were you saying, Rhonda?
I just wonder what's going to happen nightfall, and is it going to kind of fizzle out? And honestly, like, I don't know, y'all. Like, I initially started out like, okay, maybe they ain't as soft as I thought, thinking this is like kind of like an organic thing going on. And the more videos I see, I'm starting to think this is another type of psyop. And then right in the middle, you go to censor the president, like, that's literally in DC. I mean,
not everybody there though is a psyop. Not everybody.
Yeah, we have a friend. Did you made you psyop though? Because I'm curious. Because I was working. I didn't see everything today, but I saw little snippets here and there.
I guess I'm thinking of the actual storming the Capitol part, not all the people.
The gathering, right.
First of all, I just think it was a little too easy to get in there. Some of the police that I saw, they just looked not together, not prepared, just kind of haphazardly dealing with people. I saw a video of what appeared to be police officers moving barricades to allow people beyond them. The guy with his feet kicked up at Nancy Pelosi's desk. It looks weird. And then one guy, he said he saw the girl get shot, and he has this little piece of blood on his hand, and he's interviewing, and he's talking to the lady, but he keeps looking at the camera, and he's just saying like the things that happened today, and his energy is almost like it was rehearsed, and he was trying to remember what he was saying.
Trying to remember what he was supposed to say.
Yeah, it was just I don't know. It's just some weird.
Okay,
thing.
yeah. See, I didn't see all that stuff, so no. I kind of, because you see that stuff all the time where you'll see these things that people, and the way that I don't know if you saw, there was one. Remember when they had that big explosion was it in Lebanon or something like that? it was like a
Yeah,
factory
Nico's
or something
on
like that. Yeah, that
Yeah.
they had this girl that she's sitting there. They have like one video camera angle, and they have like the reporter angle. Well, the angle that you see of this is like she's talking and she's like laughing and everything. She's looking at her phone and everything, and then they turn the camera. They like the microphone goes in front of her face and everything, and she just turns into like a complete basket case. Like she's screaming and she's pleading like with the air for like how could this happen to us and everything, and it's all like this. And I was like, oh
Very
damn, okay.
theatrical, like.
So yeah, it was super theatrical, and I was like, oh wow, like I don't know. I'm not going to purport to know what all went down over there and everything, but I looked at that and I was like, that's some bullshit right there, because she was yucking it up with her friends seconds before, and then as soon as they, it was like we're live, and then she's like, oh my god, can you? And it's just like, oh my god,
Really?
yeah. If I find it, I'll send it over to you. It was mad crazy. Like it was just like you and they had the thing back in, was it El Paso, that Walmart way back when, and they had people that were like, they're like these videos of people saying they saw stuff that, and there's always there's like three people, and then all of a sudden like not three people anymore within like a few hours, and then all of a sudden there was never three people, it was only one person, and I'm like, huh, what happened to those other people that went out the back door?
Like which one is it? I think some similar stores will. I mean, we can talk about what happened in Vegas. We could talk about what happened at I think it was the Orlando nightclub, right?
Yeah.
Even some of those school shootings, like some of the videos floating are just weird. I just don't know. I just think you didn't have like federal guards, like the National Guard out there. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering, I was thinking it was maybe there was, it's such an overwhelming number of people and everything that you kind of get, if they want to, they could overpower just with your numbers, and that was the thing that I was looking at. That's why I said the thing about the ants and the grasshoppers is like, like people can see like that there's a whole lot more of us than there are of them.
I do agree with that.
And why are we letting them ruin our lives by shutting down businesses and all this stuff? Like, just no, to hell with you. I'm opening my shit. Get the hell out of here.
Right.
So, Rhonda, one more. I want to say one more thing, and the problem that we're facing with all of these conspiracies and all of this stuff is to call back to a conversation we all had a few minutes ago, and that is we don't have a media that we can trust. We don't have the eyes on it. Whether that's a newspaper or a television show or a blog, whatever that is, we don't have that. So myself, we've talked an awful lot tonight about the current events. Rhonda, I would like to get to know you a little bit better as well. So I kind of like to shift gears if we can, and I'd like to learn a little bit about you. Tell us about how you got into freedom, how you were raised, those kinds of things. I want to know a little bit more about you.
So born and raised in Mississippi, very traditional. I come from a very traditional and religious background, family background, very close knit family, pretty big family. And I've always been closely tied to my community, done work with my community, done a lot of volunteer work, in a lot of different aspects, particularly with like children and making sure, we're getting them on the right path and things like that. And I come from a family that was very big on like community and outreach and things like that. Of course, I also, well, not of course, but people could probably assume that I was also, raised Democrat and things like this. And I think here recently, a big part of what piqued my interest was the fake news. This is fake news. And so if somebody said something enough times and it doesn't pique your interest in any kind of way, I just don't know what you have going on. You just aren't interested or just don't care. And so I'm like, okay, well, if this is fake, let me see what's the truth, right?
Right.
And so I started looking into things, and as I'm finding out that like that wasn't true. They lied about this. This is what's really happening. They're telling me this is affecting the Black community like this, but when I'm looking at the actual statistics or who this is impacting the most, it's not what they say it is. And so I was like, I gotta share this with people. Like I gotta tell this to people. And that journey kind of took me more on learning, about the Constitution, about governments and our government in particular, what they actually are supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do, and things like this. And so not too long after that, learning more about American history, Black history, I started getting into gun ownership, more specifically after a personal situation happened with me that was a hit and run. And around that time, I was already learning more about politics and the Second Amendment and stuff like that. So they just took me on another journey. And then learning how a lot of these civil rights heroes were actually pro-gun and how that is in fact hid from us in a lot of ways. So that was just very empowering and inspiring to me. So that took me on a different journey. So yeah, it's just been a lot. I'm still growing. My supporters are kind of going on their journey with me. I learn as I go. Some of my opinions aren't solidified on every single thing, and I make that clear. Some freaking things I just don't know about, so I don't talk about, like global warming. I don't study global warming. I don't know. Don't ask me. So it's just a journey, and people talking with me and kind of watching me dissect and try to figure things out. So that's basically what's been going on.
You're super insightful. The stuff that you do dig into and everything like that. Like you were going through, I was watching your podcast from a week or so ago, whenever about the stimulus and everything, and it was like the day that Trump had like vetoed the thing or said he was going to veto it and all that stuff. And you're kind of going through that whole process. But like I love the way that you put something that Eric July actually put in a really good, concise manner today too, or yesterday, that this idea of this politician, oh no, it's okay, he's not that bad, he had to do this, he had to, because if he didn't do this, it was gonna, and it's like, no, look, bullshit. Like you got to call bullshit on your own politicians sometimes. Don't give me they had to, because what we end up with is this long stream of they all had to do all this stuff that took away all of our freedoms, took away all of our money, and then gave us the crumbs. And somehow all the stuff that they had to do and they didn't have any other choice keeps them flying in private jets, having big private parties with all these celebrities and everything, living the fine life, having these $50,000 a plate dinners and all this other bullshit, and somehow they leave Congress and they're like 7 millionaires, and they came into Congress with no money and making $150,000 a year, 175, whatever it is, living in one of the most expensive places to live in the world, in Washington. Well, not in the world, but anyway, in the country, in Washington D.C. Give me a break.
It's my camera. It's my microphone.
We can hear you.
Yeah, you're good. Hit it.
I'm so sorry for being quiet. But no, I 100% back that, Chad. And to the point of like people sit down and like legit, we're watching the purge happen. Like the politicians are just like betting on probably which state's gonna light on fire first, because it's like they're all cool. They all are cool, sitting so comfortably, and that's what's so aggravating. It's like, even if it's not fake news, or even if it's not, somebody getting shot in the streets, these motherfuckers get paid to shit on you all day.
All day.
You don't take like the littlest consideration to being like, maybe I should look into this shit.
And so then,
go ahead.
And even like the identity politics of it, right? Like this person looks like me, oh my God. And it's like they're literally doing the same thing to you. They're signing off on the same bills. Like I look at AOC, this fun, bubbly, young, Hispanic woman. Oh, she understands the struggle. She grew up in Brooklyn, or wherever she supposedly grew up, and you tweet, you're down for the people. Like, we can't read all of this. Y'all should know what's going on. This stimulus bill is too big, and y'all need to know, what they're doing with the money. Next day, oh well, I voted for it. I had to.
Yeah,
And it's like, it's not different. So and you know what? I do think in a lot of ways that has impacted my growth for my channel, because I think people want to be lied to. I think they do. And I just can't do it. Like, the opportunity, don't get me wrong, the opportunity for grift is so high. And like, let's be real, I have the identity to do so. But it's just not in me, And so I've been I've praised Trump and I've criticized him as well. And some people can't handle that. And I'm going to do the same for Joe Biden. When Joe Biden does anything that I feel like promotes or expands freedom, I will highlight those things. And when he does the opposite, I will criticize him for those things. And some people, it's like their freaking brains explode because they don't even know that's possible, right?
They're too busy being on a team. At the end of the
emotional
day,
investment too. Yeah.
At the end of the day, I like seeing. I don't give a fat rat's ass about whether or not this person's black, white, pink, or purple. What I like seeing, particularly with you and with Nico and with people like you, is I like seeing younger people, because I'm an old fat white dude, and at the end of the day, I'm gonna die, and I need people to carry that torch of freedom, and I love seeing it. I love seeing you dive in, and I'm with Chad. I went and watched a couple of your shows, enjoyed them, and you have he's right, you're very insightful, but you also have a way of expressing yourself to where it's not like, so many times people come off as, I know everything that there is to know. And you're a very human individual. You're very likable. You're very, and to me, one of the things that my message is I'm going to be the smiling face of voluntarism. That's who I am. I'm going to smile. I'm going to love. I'm going to bring people to me and do everything I can for them, because that's who I am. And what comes across through your production is you are a compassionate, loving individual, and I love seeing that. And so what part of our mission with this particular show is to do is we're stronger together. Whether it's you or it's Hotep Jesus or it's Adam Kokesh with his show, or whether it's Jonesy, or no matter, I don't care who these people are. And shout out to Jonesy, love my dude. But we have to support one another. We have to upraise one another, because yes, we're going to have differing opinions here or there, but ultimately we're on the same track.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And you're one of those voices that personally I want to see supported.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I'm going to make if you could get me your address, you were talking about researching things. I'd like to send you a book. I'm a reader. I don't know if you're a big reader. I am. But I have a 100-page book I'd like to send you. It's by my good friend, Adam Kokesh. It's called Freedom. And I've
already started reading it.
Okay. Well, never mind then.
I've already started reading it.
Did I give it to you, or how did you come by it?
I ended up I think Maj told me about it.
Maj told you. Okay. All right.
And I'm about halfway through it, and I really need to hurry up and finish it, because I haven't, it's crazy. I just, and I've even talked about it on my YouTube channel as well, because I didn't think that it just really it challenged my perspective on a lot of things, and made me think about and look at the government in a lot of ways as it relates to not only freedom, but our expectations for the government, and also taking your mind away from government and thinking about your person, right?
Yeah.
And how just you would want to be treated, how you would want to deal, and just putting things into kind of like a new perspective. Because even when we talk about the government, right, it's kind of this, you know, as much as we don't want it to be, it's kind of been propped up as this godly, authoritative, moral figure. And even as much as we oftentimes try to separate it from being so, we still kind of prop it up in that way. And so I think that book just made me think about freedom from a very personal and more dissected perception. So it's really good. I would highly recommend it because I've been glued to it. So
yeah, it's like a bunch of bumper stickers, one-liners, or whatever, like back to back to back to back to back. Like there's so many just little sections where it's just like you can take one sentence and just be like, "Holy cow!" There's so much.
Yes,
like one
you
little
just want to highlight the whole book, right?
Right, exactly. I found myself doing that. I have like little, I do little brackets and stuff like that, and write notes and everything. And I got like 14 pages in. I was like, dude, this thing is like, it's so heavy now from all the ink that I put in that thing. It's crazy.
So Daryl has a question for you.
He says, in a zombie apocalypse, what is your one gun of choice and why?
So I'm about to embarrass myself here, but no, seriously, I'm not a gun girl. You know, it's just really not my thing in that sort of way. So it'll probably be whatever my guy puts in my hands at the moment, because he's always going to be my first line of defense. You get hit first. You go up there. I'm back here. So that's pretty much how that would go.
Yeah. She says she's the queen and the king will die first.
Protect the queen, okay? Protect the queen.
Right. Awesome.
Oh man.
So yeah, it seems as though that one of the things that I am really enjoying with the progress of this show is that we are really showcasing the solutionaries, as Maj would put it, the people who have ideas that to make things better. We've talked a lot about the news. We've talked about your history. What solutions do you see coming up that you think would solve some of the problems we're facing in the world right now?
People have to talk about the principles and the values and make sure there's consistency to it, and do it on a local level and explain these things in a much more personal way. I'm just sorry to tell you, but Marcus, the whole 2A, it's my God-given right, and like that may move somebody that looks like you, possibly so. For me, it's just not going to have the same impact, especially when you have a media that has demonized that type of language. So you have to do these things in a very personal way. It was actually a Black woman that was a police officer that was the first person that ever told me, like, girl, you ain't got a gun. She told me that after the hit and run thing, because she was like, you know, at certain parts of me telling this story, she was like, you could have been like, you fear for your life. I never had anybody talk to me about gun ownership in a very just simple way, right? Even if we're talking about freedom of speech, same thing. It's my God-given right. I should be able to say anything that I want to say and things like this. But it's more making people aware that this doesn't just impact this one person, right? Like, it's gonna impact all of us. And let me show you, in some ways it may impact you specifically. So I think it's making these things more personable and relatable to modern day culture. You know, regardless of how people feel about it, if you want to make these principles important, if you want young people to care about it, you have to make it relatable to what they're actually going through. Otherwise, why would I freaking care?
Right.
Why would I care?
Yeah, exactly. And so many times for whether you're talking libertarians or anarchists, voluntarists, or even hell for that matter, conservatives, they want to hand you a big, and I offered you a book earlier, but they want to hand you a big tome. I wasn't trying to give you a big tome. I was trying to give you a little book. But they want to hand you this big tome, hand you like Mises, and things could, is bigger than my computer, and they want you to digest all of that, and our culture right now does not have time for that.
They don't.
And so I think that you're right. We have to make it. And when I was on Adam's campaign, our primary thing was localization, and you touched on that, was bringing it to your local community. And that's where, like you said, what's funny is I'm not even that much of a gun guy. I'm more of a garden guy, but and a philosophy guy. But
shoot some broccoli out of your gun.
Right. But you're right. What works I live in Indiana, and I'm in a little town just north of Indianapolis. What works in my town wouldn't work for Nico. He lives in Chicago. They're two totally different areas. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we definitely need to start catering our message, not changing the core of it.
Exactly.
Catering our message to the community we're talking to.
Exactly. And you can cater your message without pandering and without snowflaking, whether people realize it or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's about, honestly, just being a good person, not being an a-hole, and having some level of empathy for people and their different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
And especially knowing that you might be talking to someone who is exactly who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever.
Absolutely.
And try to think of like what would have actually been effective with you. I struggle with that a lot because I can be that asshole sometimes. I'm like, I'll do it sometimes where I'll like yell at people, and
super easy. It's super easy to be that asshole nowadays.
Yeah.
It's super easy to be the asshole nowadays. It's like very, very easy, especially when you have something called the internet. And hold on. You have the internet, and when you have the internet, you're able to very go in depth with a lot of things. And when I say go in depth, it could lead you to a bunny hole where it's like, it's that big old stick you see in a cartoon. It's like information this way, stupid shit that way. Everybody likes to go to the stupid shit because it just be like, that looks like a lot of reading, and then they just go mind their own business. And so it's like when people are incentivized to do certain things for themselves, they just like look around at their situation and be like, nah, I think I'm just cool it right here. It's the complacency. It's the comfortability that people have with themselves and with their situations, that they're like, they don't want their bubble to be broken, or they don't want certain scabs or wounds to be reopened, because as soon as you test that scab or that wound, that idea, it's going to provide a shock. Nobody likes taking a cold shower. Like taking a cold shower provides a shock to the system. So therefore, if you get that shock to your system consistently, you think you might just be going crazy, to be honest. Like, especially if you have a small confined box, and then all of a sudden, God himself decides to rip that bitch open and say surprise. Like, you'd be very shocked. So it's like, if you have other people basically contesting your framework of ideology, it's not going to be pretty. It's not.
So you got to do it with compassion.
And the crazy thing is, it's not even hard talking about it in a way that's relatable. And that may be a little oversight. Maybe I'm just good at it. I don't know. But,
girl, it's that sweet southern like that. You got that. You have, man. It's charming. I gotta give it to you. Like you have a way about you. So it's
like I'm just about to offer you some sweet tea or something.
I'm waiting. Yeah, I'm waiting. I want some cornbread. I want the red beans and rice,
But
and I want a big tall glass of lemonade.
let me tell you about this one quick story where it was this young lady. We were both volunteering for like a recycling campaign, and so we were there putting things away and stuff like that. And I'll never forget her saying, I don't even know how guns came up, but she started saying something about, Trump just need to just go around and just start taking these guns from people and, just start taking them because it's just too much going on. There's too many people shooting people and the government just really needs to do something about it. And I said, you think people just need to go start taking all the guns? And she's like, yeah, we got to do something. And I was like, well, how would they take people's guns? And she's like, like, how would they do it? You want police to show up to take guns from people when you already probably feel some type of way about the police? Oh, well, I said, how do you think that would turn out? What do you think it would look like? Like, tell me play by play how you think that would go. Oh, you know what? I just never really thought about it like that. I said, well, why don't you like guns? Like, what's your issue with them? And she was just like, well, my child's dad, he isn't really living right and he has this firearm and I just don't want him to have it around my son. And I just don't think it's a good thing. And I said, well, have you pulled your son aside? Have you talked to him about firearms? Have you taught him anything about safety? Anything about that? No, I just don't even think he should see it. I just don't even think he should know about it. I said, so what's going to happen if your son is with his dad one day and he happens to come across his firearm? You want your son to be in a vulnerable state, not being empowered, knowing about safety.
Right.
I've never thought about this before. You're probably right. Like, I wouldn't want my son to do something wrong because he doesn't know. He may hurt himself. She never been told any of this, never thought about it in this way, never conceptualized it in this way, how these things were applicable to her life, right? From her son and his safety to her community. You don't want a bunch of police officers showing to the hood, going door to door, talking about give us your guns. Like, what do you really think the ramifications are going to be for that? And I didn't freaking call her a slave. I didn't tell her to get off the Democratic plantation. You know what I mean? I didn't say it's your human right. You know what I mean? It's packaging.
It's different.
Yes, it's an entire different energy. And when you make those things personable and relatable, people go, oh. And then it's that thing of she cares about me. Like, she cares about my son. She wasn't trying to make this about her and her gun and being selfish. This is about her rights. She's talking about my neighborhood, my child. You know what I mean? So I think that's going to be the key for, like Marcus asked me earlier, the key for talking about and expanding freedom. People are going to have to learn how to talk to people and get out of these freaking bullet points and talking points. Nobody wants to hear that you're going to be drowned out.
For sure. And it really, I think it boils down to, you just got to give a shit. The real answer is the people that are just going to the bullet points, that are just going, okay, I've checked that off. They just want to be right. They don't give a damn about whatever issue they're talking about. They just want to be right. And these are the things they think are right. And they're just listing them out. What you're talking about is actually caring about the person in the life that they're living. And that really, I think, is the key to, frankly, everything, whether you're talking about political stuff or spiritual stuff, or you're talking about religion, or you're talking about all the big subjects that we think about. You have to care. You have to give a damn. And by giving a damn about the issue or giving a damn about the person, because you put that emphasis from your own heart on it, it gives it strength. So I think that's really what the core of that is an actual giving a damn about whatever it is you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Do you encounter a lot of like receptivity to that? Like how much pushback do you get versus how much are you actually connected with people with that? Because it sounds like it would be like you're pretty successful at it.
I literally don't get much pushback at all.
Mm.
Like, whether people believe it or not, it's crazy when you really know how to talk to people and kind of direct it towards them. And people are not gonna like always 100% agree with you, but we want to plant seeds. I literally have people DMing me about stuff I used to put on freaking Facebook 5-10 years ago. Not 10
Oh wow.
You know,
Yeah.
a long time ago. Like,
yeah.
I remember you used to tell me this, or I remember you used to say this, and now I see, or now I've come to this realization. So it's about planting seeds and letting these seeds develop over time. What do you think the liberals have been doing in Hollywood, have been doing in the schools, have been doing in the media? They've been planting seeds and letting it grow. Look, it wasn't even 10 years ago that we were saying, okay, you know, a man and a man can get married, and now they're trying to make us believe that a man and a woman are exactly the same thing, and it's no different, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't just throw all of it on us at once. It was a very deliberate working up of those things being implanted. And so, you know, and that goes across a lot of different
I'm sorry.
What's that?
What is it? The movie Soul that just came out was a Disney or Pixar movie. That black man who died and then came up as a soul, and then at the very end of it, all in all, apparently, I haven't seen it, so I'm sorry if I'm ruining somebody's movie experience.
I've already seen it, so you're not gonna hurt me.
He turned out to be a white woman, and I'm like, like, if I could break my neck right now on screen, I would, because like that makes no sense whatsoever. Like,
yeah,
why would you? Like, look, I don't care if it would have been a black woman. I would have felt some type of way. But not only are you skipping it, like you're jumping a gender and a race. Like that's not how it works around here. Yeah. Like, like I need y'all to, like, even though with your propaganda and all that, like, do you see like they put it in kids movies? Like
it was the same as what was the name of the movie with it was a remake of an old movie from way back in the day with, I think, Warren Beatty was in it way back in the day, but it was Chris Rock, where he like what's the name of that movie? Anyway, where he dies and he comes back in the soul in the body of this old white man.
Yeah, I remember.
And he's like runs an insurance company or something, or I don't know. Anyway, it was like that, except that instead of Chris Rock coming back, his soul coming back in the body of an old white man, Tina Fey possessed Jamie Foxx's body, and that's what was because Jamie Foxx was the voice of the one, and then Tina Fey was the voice, and they like switched, or no, she ends up taking his body, and then he ends up in a cat, and talks to her. Yeah,
This is why I can't play with Disney and Pixar. Y'all
it's messed up, man. It's messed up. So like I think from the sounds of things, you know, that's one of the kind of the solutionary aspects of your approach and everything. But what, like, specifically, what have you targeted as a goal for 2021 that, like, as weird and messed up and also in some ways really cool? I mean, that's how I met you. I met you at the Solutionary Summit, and then got to meet you again when Maj was coming through town, and y'all had linked up was it in Jackson or whatever for the class that he gave there, and so I got to see you in Baton Rouge for a little bit. So there were things like that were really cool about 2020, but a lot of 2020 sucked and was weird, and I'm glad it's over. But for 2021, I did too. There's some I can leave behind, but I'm just saying, like, overall, like, I had some really cool stuff. I got to do this show with these two guys. But what's your goal? What's your plan for 2021? What are you looking to accomplish?
So I really want to expand my YouTube channel and my basically like my social media platforms. I want to give more energy to YouTube, even though I still do my weekly show. I fizzle out a little bit. Sometimes, especially depending on how heavy you're dealing in the political space, it can be taxing. And so I think that some of my work experience that going into the end of 2020, but I kind of just want to pick things back up. I also am hoping to attend a lot of firearm and first aid trainings, and kind of highlighting those, not only to highlight some of the specific instructors across the country that I think are awesome. Their work is awesome, so I want to highlight them. But also to show people that you don't have to be a gun girl, you don't have to be Tomb Raider, you don't have to be any of these other things to learn how to protect yourself and how to protect your family. So I think just becoming a more proficient gun owner and first aid are going to be hopefully a little bit heavier for me this year. And then I want to share that with people as I do that, and some of the things I'm learning. I really, as time goes on, I just want to become more self-sufficient as possible, even to the point of, like, recently I've been like researching like harvesting rainwater. There's all these talks about how much longer do we have water, just crazy stuff. And at some point learning to grow my own food and stuff like that. And so first aid and self-protection is going to be a very big part of the journey that I'm trying to go on.
Yeah, it's funny. People think of anarchy and they think of, the Antifa with the red and black out. Really, once you get into anarchy, it really is gardens, maybe some guns, but they're usually back in the
Why
back.
do you always do that voice, Marcus?
I know. It's part of my gig, I guess. But no,
I know,
it really is stuff like that. Handling your food, handling your water, and for sure, water is, for anybody who's into the survival stuff, water is your number one thing. You lose air, you're fucked. So it doesn't matter about that. But number one thing needs to be water, because you cannot live without it for very long.
Right.
So yeah, but it's funny how the farther people get towards a freedom mindset, the more they start focusing on things, that are more like survivalist type stuff. And I'm not.
Isn't that so interesting?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a scale. It's like the more you hate the government, like the more you want to get away from it as much as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, the struggle for me too is that, like, my wife is like, she's like, where are we gonna go? I want to move. Are we gonna go to Mexico? And I'm like, I kind of don't like. I'm not a big fan of like the let's all run to like different corners and then we all end up in the same corner and then we're like really easy targets where they're just like, yeah, you see those guys right there, that little corner right there, that's the last of them. So I kind of, I'm built a little different where I'm like, no, we're just gonna hunker down here and we're gonna protect this, and I'm gonna try to expand freedom from here and be a little, like try to make it grow from where I am instead of trying to run somewhere where I hopefully, I don't know. I'm not a big runaway, and I've been living in Baton Rouge my whole life. So like, it's like, it'd be weird for me to move away anyway, but it's just not my style to react to a fight like that. I'm more of a dig my heels in and let's go toe to toe, and whoever wins. So
Yeah.
come at me, bro.
Brody said in the chat how his wife saved a drowning girl because of a CPR class that she took.
Mm.
And that's another thing, particularly for, well, I mean, I say this, but I was going to say particularly for the Black community is that dealing with certain things, I think on our own will really be key to mitigate a lot of the dependence on calling 911, on calling the police. And sometimes they could be as simple as first aid, and they could be as simple as learning in some ways how to deal with mentally ill people. Right? Because those are some of the complaints that you hear. I've just always been like, I don't want to argue about this. You're getting on my nerves. I'm ready to eat. Just tell me what we need to do type person. And so I think I get a little tired of like the cyclical conversation. So I'm the type of person like, all right, y'all identified the problem. Now what can we do to fix it? Like that's just my nature. And so now I am looking for ways to be more of an asset to myself, my family, and my community. And hopefully in 2021, I can inspire other people to do the same with that same personal, relatable, like I'm kind of special. I mean, but hey, I'm just me. So if I'm doing it, you can do it too,
That's right.
So, just letting people know it's not about being some special person or having, all these accolades or things like this. Is really about having the desire to want to put your family and your community in a better predicament. And you may be that person to save somebody's life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, because you're right. We do, and we've touched on this with several of our guests, but we really do need to show, we'll put our money where our mouth is. And I say, and I've said before, that when you call 911, you're inviting the enemy into your house.
Mm-hmm.
And you're absolutely right. A cop's not going to come into your house thinking, oh, how can I help? He comes in and thinking, okay, how can I? Right. Where's my threat? What can I do? How can I bring somebody in? What am I going to be able to twist this to be? And people say, oh, but you just don't like the police. No, I understand that sometimes in a community, you're going to need a security force.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to have to happen because that's something that you're going to need. What I don't like is, why do you need to insert force, violence, and coercion into your security force?
Right.
Right, absolutely.
So I think we're at a point. It's been around an hour and a half. And Rhonda, you have been an excellent guest, and I've really enjoyed this conversation. And thank you for being a guinea pig as well, because for us, this is our first live broadcast, and I think it's
You know what? I was thinking that, but I was like, can't be.
It is. And look, I'm sorry I had to push it back. My son had a basketball game, and then like the tournament, they're running like a half hour late, so I had to like leave at halftime so I can make it home. Like hurried home, and I was like, all right, dude, I had everything all set up. I did all my stuff. I front loaded everything, so everything it was all ready. All I had to do was go click the link. And then boom, we were ready to go. And Marcus did all this little fancy shit around the edges and everything. So we had all that stuff ready to go. But yeah, you were our first, and it was great. Like your first live guest.
Courtesy.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. You definitely need a courtesy. But no, yeah, our first live guest and our first guest of 2021 as well. And we couldn't have done it better. I really appreciate you coming on. And if there's anything else you want to promote or anything like that, like I said, all your links and stuff are in the bottom. But if you want to like specifically point something out, the shirt that you're wearing that I'm also wearing, I want to remind everybody again of that. Anti-Statist. Today's a great day to be anti-statist. Every day is, but especially today was a fun day. Anything else you got?
Thank y'all so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Also, I think y'all are going to find the more you do lives, you're going to really love it and take to it, because it's very free-forming, organic. You can interact with your viewers and stuff like that. So I think y'all will really,
that was a fun part
enjoy that.
sure. Yeah.
But y'all can follow me. I'm pretty much Rhonda Mary on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter. I am Rhonda Mary because they banned my previous page, which kind of put me back a little bit. But hey, it's okay.
That was that was not long after I met you too, because I remember you came back, your Twitter account got messed up, and you had to come back and fix that and everything too. And it was
really
that was like a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago or something like that.
It really sucks. And I stayed off Twitter for probably a month or longer, just trying to even worrying about dealing with it. But I finally, as I kept making new pages, they kept blocking me. And so now I'm tweeting from a second phone. My sister dug up an account that she started in 2012 and never tweeted from it. So now it looks like I've had this account forever, but the first tweet on it is in 2020. So it's just been really crazy. Right. But anyway, people can find me on Rhonda Mary on everything if you would like to purchase these really cool Anti-Statist, or I also have Entertainers Are Not Leaders tees available. I don't know if you dropped that link below as well, but it's on all of my links on my social media.
Give me one of those.
Yes. And I was gonna say something else, but I forgot. So thank y'all for having me.
All right.
Nico, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, Nico.
Why?
No, I just said blessings. Thank you very much.
Oh, blessings. Yeah.
Is my shit tweaking again? Oh, well, I guess technology's still not fucking with me. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can. We got to get you a new computer, brother.
Look. Everything hates me at this point.
We love you, Nico. We love you.
Right.
Yeah. But when it comes to the beep boops and technology, everything hates me. So we're working on it. We're working on it. We working on it. Appreciate
on that note.
You.
On that note, go to the Patreon, get signed up, buy our merch.
We can channel so we can buy Nico.
We got to buy Nico some shit.
I have a job now. I recently got a job. They just doing your boy dirty, and unfortunately, we had just finished up the building, so now I have to figure out. I have ways to flip my bread. I just have to start flipping my bread now. So
you will.
Yeah. Wish you luck, lads.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, thank you again, Rhonda, for being here and for being our inaugural guest. We didn't tell you that because I didn't want to put too much pressure or to make you think we were ratchet or anything like that. That we were just coming out of the box with our first live show. But we did our thing. We did the best we could, and you were a great guest, and I appreciate you helping us out with that. So thanks everybody for joining us. And again, all of Rhonda's links are in the description below. Don't forget to like if you haven't already. Share, 2 shares to speed the spread. Subscribe to the channel, get the notifications and all that stuff. Go to the Patreon, like Marcus said, and get involved there. Help us get Nico a new computer. He needs it. And that's all we got. We are a wrap for the first episode of 2021. As Marcus says, stay free, my friends.
Stay free.
Bye, y'all.
See ya.
Bye.